you're watching Gearz, brought to you by Holly Performance Products. Fuel your passion. And Cornwell Tools, the choice of professionals.
Hey, welcome to Gearz. You know, one of the cool things about the car world is that it's possible to find all kinds of reproduction body parts, complete replacement bodies, all kinds of accessories for just about any vintage vehicle out there. And two of the most popular reproduction vehicles to build are the 32 Ford and the Cobra. But there's a lot of other choices out there as well for those of us that like something a little different. Case in point, the Cheetah Evolution car we started building a few years ago. Now this is an updated version of the wildly fast Cheetah race car that was designed by Bill Thomas to beat the Cobra on the track back in '64. But no matter what your taste in cars might be, the key to pulling off a successful replica or component car is to find a company that continues to develop and improve their cars as you're building it. Cheetah Evolution is a prime example of that. Take a look. When Cheetah Evolution first designed their Cheetah replicas, the entire suspension was based on the C4 Corvette. And that was a good choice because it's a great suspension. It's affordable and it's easily serviced. However, as the aftermarket moves forward, newer and better products are always becoming available. So when Winters released their new independent rear end, Cheetah Evolution decided to offer that as an upgrade on their chassis.
I was looking for an alternative, and that's where I came up with the Winters non-quick change, because that's what the drifters were using, and the drifters don't break these things. The ring gear's 10 inches, so that's the largest improvement.
So we sent our car back up to Craig Ruth at Cheetah Evolution for this awesome upgrade. And even though the Cheetah Evolution cars are designed to come apart quickly and be fully serviceable, the Winters rear end swap is not a bolt-in deal. No. This requires major modifications and re-engineering to the frame and chassis, which is why Craig offers to do it on the cars. The first step is to remove the body from the car so there's plenty of room to work. Now, what needs to change here is this entire carrier. So we can get rid of the stock Corvette brakes and upgrade to some high-performance Wilwood brakes. So all this needs to come apart. Up on top, we're also going to need to remove the fuel tank, as well as all of this cantilever suspension. And down underneath, virtually everything you see is C4 Corvette stuff, so it's got to come out as well. Okay, with everything disassembled, here's what needs to happen to fit the Winters independent differential in here. The center bar needs to be completely removed because this was the mounting point for the bat wings of the original Dana rear end. So this all needs to be cut out. And as you can see, that's also going to affect the lower fuel tank mounts that are welded to it. So those will need to be redone. Finally, this whole center brace will need to be cut off, but keep the 3 bolts to make room for the differential. To do that, we'll require a vertical mount on each side so the Winters differential can tuck right in the center and be properly supported. Now, I know this seems like a lot of cutting and changes on a car that we're still building, not to mention all the painting and detailing and other stuff that I'm going to have to redo underneath here. So the question becomes, is all this worth it? Well, let's take a look at what was done. First off, this new Winters Champ differential uses a 10-inch ring gear, so it is way stronger than the old C4 Corvette unit and capable of handling 1,000 horsepower. And with all this bat wing mess out of here, now there's a lot more room under the rear of this car. As you can see, the new differential bolts right in the center here, directly to the frame, using a special bracket from Cheetah Evolution. There's also custom brackets underneath and in the back to mount the rear of the differential and to support the struts that connect out to the hubs. Up on top, nothing has changed. We still have the adjustable struts and cantilever shock system that makes this suspension so cool. Of course, new half shafts and drive shaft were also needed, and just like the differential, these are way stronger than what we had on here before. Out on the hubs, the rear brakes have been greatly improved by getting rid of the stock Corvette rotors and calipers, and bolting on this Corvette system that Wilwood has that features big 13-inch drilled and slotted rotors and 4-piston calipers. This is going to be a perfect match for the brakes that we're running on the front. Now, the parking brake was another area that we wanted to upgrade because there's not a lot of room in this car to do the traditional parking brake with the handle and the cables and everything that goes along with that. So instead of that, we're going to go with this electric e-brake from Wilwood. Now, look at this little thing. I mean, it's a little e-brake, but the only hookup is a wire and a switch. So no more handles, no more cables, none of that other stuff to put an e-brake on your vehicle. I mean, this alone is almost worth the price of this conversion.
In a world of economic uncertainty, there will always be a need for quality tools and people who can use them. That's why becoming a Cornwell tool dealer is one of the best career moves you can make. With routes available all across the nation, it's a great way to be your own boss, supply high-quality tools to professionals, and make some real money. If you're tired of working for someone else, have the drive to succeed, and want a career that can be successful no matter what happens on Wall Street, there's a Cornwell tool truck with your name on the side.
Hey, welcome back to Gearz, where we have just gotten our Cheetah back from Cheetah Evolution, and we've completely changed the rear suspension. We got rid of a lot of that old Corvette stuff and put in a much stronger, much more compact Winters independent differential. And then, of course, we did the brakes and a few other things back there as well. And we figured since we're upgrading the rear, we might as well do some upgrades on the front too. So, take a look. The upper control arms on the early Evolution cars were just stock C4 Corvette. So we got rid of those and bolted in these fully adjustable fabricated upper control arms from SPC Performance. Now, these are much stronger and much more adjustable than the stock Corvette stuff. We also upgraded the steering rack with this quick ratio power steering rack from Flaming River. Now this will give us quick responsive steering with a light touch on the steering wheel. Perfect for some romps around the track. Or rush hour traffic. Okay, since we upgraded the steering rack, we're also going to make some changes up here on this end, namely the steering column. And we're going to put in a brushed aluminum tilt steering column from I Did It to match all that brushed aluminum that we're putting in the interior. Now the tilt option is awesome, and it also will plug right into our existing wiring harness and our existing steering shaft, so installation is going to be really easy. Now for a steering wheel, we need something that captures the look and the vibe of this car, and for that we went to MPI and got one of these Autodromo 70s. Now as you can see, this is a 14-inch racing style wheel that has polished aluminum spokes and a hand-stitched leather wrap. So this thing not only looks like it came off of a vintage Italian sports car, but even the box that it comes in looks like a pizza box, just in case that you forget these things are actually made in Italy. But don't worry, you can afford them because you can get them right from I Did It. All right, so we have a quick ratio steering rack, we have a tilt column, we have a small diameter steering wheel, and we're still going to have trouble getting in and out of a gull wing doored car because you get hung up on the steering column. Well, I Did It's got a solution for that with this quick release hub that will allow you to take that wheel off of that column in just a few seconds. Take a look. This little plastic plug for your horn wire needs to be cut off of here. Then the splined hub bolts to the column. Next, the hub that holds the steering wheel will slide right onto that stub and lock firmly in place. Now notice how nicely it fits around the steering column. That's a really good look. And it'll stay there until you're ready to pull that wheel off. To do that, you just put your thumbs in the center, pull on the sides, and pull the wheel off. That's awesome. Now, the only thing that you're going to lose with a system like this is the horn button in the center for obvious reasons. But I Did It also has this little push button turn signal lever, so you can run a horn there, or a dimmer switch, or whatever you want to do. So you've got some options here. This is a cool setup. Okay, with all of this laid out, the question is, what do we still have to do to this car? Well, there's some detailing up underneath we need to finish up. Need to wire and fire this thing. Need to finish out the interior and do some detailing under the hood. And that's all exciting stuff, because every step you take forward on your project is one step closer to firing it up and running it down the road. And this thing is going to be awesome.
Metal. It's one of the key components of what we build and fabricate with. But if you can't shape it and cut it, you can't build with it. For over 50 years, Wilwood Fab has been supplying the tools and technical advice to get the job done right. Bead rollers, brakes, shears, tubing benders. You'll find what you need whether you're a professional metal worker or just starting out. Wilwood Fab, shaping metal since 1966.
There's no question that the automobile and the airplane share some common origins. Both came into existence during the Industrial Revolution and were forged and developed during wars and economic depressions to help move people and machinery and build a nation. But there's another even bigger connection: hot rods. During World War II, the government was stuffing massive engines into narrow little frames and fuselages and turning 20-year-old pilots loose in machines called the Mustang and the Corsair, the Thunderbolt, and the Hellcat. Now, when those boys returned home, they started doing the same thing with their cars, and the hot rod was born.
Either way.
So the airplane and the hot rod are forever linked. It's not uncommon to see custom vehicles built with a nod toward an airplane connection, like we did with Sergeant Rock and the Memphis Belle. Well, another vehicle that has done a great job of blending the automobile with an airplane is the P33 Roadster from Garrett's Rod Shop. Take a look at this.
The P33 Roadster was just a, realistically for Garrett, it was a dream, and it's been years ago, of building a car that kind of has a military aircraft theme. And then so one of our customers, he was like, I want a Roadster. I just want something fun to cruise around. He likes to play golf, so he wanted something he could just, take to the country club and back. And so that's where Garrett kind of looked at it and said, let's do something fun with this. There's a lot of canvas there to work with.
Now, to get the right foundation under that 33 Roadster body, a custom frame was built, and the suspension was dialed in by grafting in an independent front suspension to get the nose down where it should be. Then out back, they slid in a matching rear independent suspension to even out the ride and add some extra cool factor. With the frame dialed in, the next step is the body. And this is usually where things get a little crazy. And the P33 was no exception. Take a look. Let's see what we got here.
Okay.
The trunk was modified to open like a rumble seat. Oh, that's cool. And what little storage the car has is back here, tucked between aircraft-inspired details like wing strut bracing on the sides and a leather-covered gas tank with a competition flip top. Now the details continue on the outside as well, with dual headrests that start at the body and then flow down into the trunk lid. And finally, 39 Chevy taillights finish it off and warn you to keep your distance. The interior continues the military aircraft vibe, but it ratchets up the level of detail a notch. The door panels are reminiscent of World War II aircraft with plenty of trim and straps and cargo pouches. The steering column is blended to match the door opening, and the steering wheel was crafted to resemble the yoke of a B-24 bomber. The leather seats flow up into functional roll bars and headrests, and down the center is a custom console with matching wing strut details, rivets, and leather. Even the floor is unique with a blend of carpet and aluminum and wooden inserts, And on the dash, bomber gauges sit in a custom bezel for a classic hot rod look. Now, when you move to the front of the car, there were plenty of nips and tucks that happened up there as well. The standard one-piece windshield hides under custom trim and detailing, so it looks like a two-piece windshield like you would see on a vintage airplane, car, or truck in the 40s. The speed blisters on the hood are not only functional, but they're also reminiscent of aviation metalwork. And when you open the hood, you would never know that there is a Chevy LS engine hiding in there, because a custom cover makes it look like there is some sort of military turbine tank engine thing powering this car, which is a nice touch. But the biggest thing that grabs your attention up front is the hood sides with those zoomy pipes sticking out like a legendary P51 Mustang. Now what's even more surprising is those pipes are functional. When you flip the switch, the mufflers are bypassed and real hot rod sounds roar out of those side pipes. Oh, that's awesome. Now close it up, close it up. Oh, that's nice. That's awesome, man. Now, this is something you would expect on a raunchy, well-worn hot rod, but not necessarily on a high-dollar, custom-built street rod. And the way that the guys at Gearz pulled this off is a pretty unique piece of engineering.
We came up with the idea using stainless steel cast iron headers that work on the LS motor.
Yeah.
So that's what we used to create those, and then they're kind of reverse flow, flipped around. And there's a lot of tight tube bending that had to go into that. None of it touches the body, and actually allows the engine to vibrate and move inside the engine compartment. You can pull that engine and that whole exhaust will go right with it.
The paint is another unique aspect of this car because it's an olive drab with a gloss to give the proper military vibe. Then when you add the artillery style wheels, you end up with a very cool blend of classic car and classic airplane. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, I bet that car's just a trailer queen. You'll be surprised because Gearz builds all of their cars to be reliable drivers. But they did mess up in one area. They didn't leave enough trunk space for that full set of golf clubs that the owner wanted. But come to find out, the owner really doesn't care because he'd rather drive the P33 than play a round of golf, which I think was probably his goal from the very beginning.
A successful automotive project takes planning and organization, but instead of using an old tablet or notebook, there's the Gearz Deluxe Project Planning Book. This was designed to help you lay out a project, the parts, the tools, costs, and keep it organized with colored tabs, a pouch for receipts, and even a place to attach photos. If you decide to sell the vehicle, it serves as a complete history of what's been done. If you have a project or plan on starting one, the Gearz Project Planning Book is the best way to lay it out and make it happen. Can't get enough Gearz? Make sure to check out the Tales of a Gearhead podcast, where Stacey brings a lifetime of automotive knowledge, friendships, and expertise to the listener. Also, check out our social media channels for updates and videos of Gearz projects, as well as special contests, giveaways, and events. If you have a vehicle you want to enter into What Are You Working On?, go to staceydavid.com and submit it. There's also the online store and tons of other Gearhead information that will encourage you to get out there, build something, and go drive it. And now, Parts Bin.
If you have a classic Mopar, you know that putting in a modern Hemi is a great possibility. You probably also know that putting headers on that is pretty much an impossibility until now, because Hooker has come out with these exhaust manifolds for exactly that sort of swap. Take a look here. Now, when you first look at these, they don't seem like much because they're a cast iron manifold. Now, they did that for a reason. So you have this low profile design so you clear starters and suspension and all that mess that gets you in trouble on a Mopar. You can see they've got great flow, and they have a 2.5-inch outlet with big fat flanges and everything you're going to need to put it on. So if you've got a classic E-body or B-body Mopar or a Dakota that you're going to put one of those hot Hemis in, these exhaust manifolds will take care of the exhaust part of that swap. Everybody knows how important the electrical system is on your car or truck, with virtually everything from fuel to spark to timing being electronically controlled. And MSD has been helping people get the most out of their ignition systems for a long time with the 6A ignition box. But now they've stuffed even more power into a smaller box with the Ultra 6A series ignition box. The new processor and board provide maximum spark energy on less current, it creates less heat, and still gives you powerful capacitive discharge of multiple sparks for complete combustion and improved performance. As with most MSD boxes, this will work on 4, 6, and 8-cylinder engines and will connect to points or magnetic pickups. If you want all the power that MSD has to offer in a smaller package, the Ultra 6A box is calling your name.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Wilwood Fabrication, selling quality metalworking equipment since 1966.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Herbie, and he's from way out in Washington State. That's an awesome place. And his project is a 1936 Dodge Coupe. Now, you're thinking, Dodge, that's pretty cool. It is. Check this thing out. He's done several vehicles over the years. He wanted to do something different, so he decided to do a Dodge. He's in the process of laying out the front and rear suspension. He's got a hot 340 and an automatic mocked into place, so he's keeping this thing all Mopar. It's going to be a really cool vehicle. Now, he said in the rear, he's hoping to use some sort of a 4-link. Hasn't got it figured out yet, and he's still in the process of working through the steering. So he's just right in the middle of this project, which is how we like to see him. Now, his plan for this thing when he gets it done is to leave the exterior kind of rough, but he wants to have a cool interior. He wants to drive the car, he wants to race the car, he wants to take it to shows. In other words, he wants to enjoy this thing every way he can, which is exactly what a hot rod like this is for. So to recognize such a cool project, we are going to give you one of these super bead manual bead rollers from Wilwood Fab. As you can see, it comes with all kinds of dies to roll beads, make some flanges, all kinds of good stuff. You're going to love that. Also, we're going to give you a Gearz fender cover. Not going to do you much good on your car with no paint, but we're still going to give you one. And then, the most important thing, we're going to give you a project planning book so you can keep track of everything you're doing on that car. Then we're going to give you a gift card from Holley so you can get some products from Holley to help on the project. And finally, we're going to give you a copperhead die cast. Now, for the rest of you guys, if you want to get in on this and get your project featured on the show, you got to send it to us. Go to our website, go to Gearz Nation, and submit it into What Are You Working On? The website's also the place to find out more information on any products you may have seen on the show, any Gearz merchandise, and how to join Gearz Nation. You can also see Gearz episodes for free on our YouTube channel and become a channel member. That way you get bonus content and you get early access to all the new episodes. Also, don't forget to check us out on Amazon Prime for Gearz and the Gearz Restoration Series. Finally, don't forget to like us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're a radio person, make sure you check out our podcast, Tales of a Gearhead. All right, that wraps it up for us today, which means it is time for you to get out there and start wrenching on your own project. If you don't have one, you need to go get one and start wrenching on it. We'll see you next time.